IPMNation.com.
All natural being. Warning, all natural being with Brian Brawdy is designed to shake your sense of self to the core.
It's full contact psychology with an empowering twist, a philosophical loofah for your soul.
For those of you not ready or comfortable releasing your inner superhuman, listener discretion is advised.
Here's your host,
Brian Brawdy.
Welcome to All Natural Being. It's Brian, hanging out with you here for the hour. However, you're hooking up with me, whether it's live this morning, 7 to 8 a.m. Eastern Time, or you're listening to the replay at 11 a.m., 8 p.m. tonight. Maybe you're catching it on iTunes or even in the archives. I want to thank you. We're coming up on day 70 or thereabouts. Thank you for making us the number one show on IPM Nation. Number one show. And as you know, I believe we're number one because it's a show about you. It's a show about us, about the all-natural being that underlies all the craziness, everything going on in the world. That beneath it all the division, all the fraction, beneath it all, there's an all-natural being. And you know, we're kind of looking at some things, and you know, every day, the day before, I post an anaerobic aphorism. So for the people that are interested, we will be talking about the anaerobic aphorism this morning. The first one that I posted yesterday was, ever notice that when you finally get off your own back, that's when the breaks come? So this morning's show, as I originally intended, was going to be about getting off our own backs, how we hold ourselves down and back, and how the true breaks in life come when we're not so cruel to ourselves, when we're not so controlling, when we're not so tyrannical to ourselves, that when we get off our own backs, that's when our lucky breaks arrive, tying in the show from the day before yesterday. And then as the day wore on, I realized that collectively we can also get off our own backs. And one of the ways that we can do it collectively as a people, not just here in the States, wherever you're listening around the world. We have listeners from all over the world. Wherever you're listening, one of the things that we can do to get off our own backs is to start to be really, frankly, blatantly honest with ourselves, our families, our friends, our communities, about the true nature of reality. True nature of reality. No more division, as I said. No more fractions. No more separating ourselves from what we know, and this isn't a spiritual commentary, this is a scientific commentary about the underlying energy of absolutely everything in the universe. Everything in the universe. And until we're prepared to have that frank discussion, we're not getting off our own backs. You look at the events of the last 72 hours. 2 people killed by police officers. And then last evening, if you're just getting up early and you haven't seen the news, 5, if not 6 police officers now killed in Dallas, protecting Black Lives Matters protesters, and they were fired on by snipers. So we want to have this discussion. It comes down. Well, let's address it in order that it comes. The 2 police-involved shootings. I asked on Facebook last night, do you think police are too afraid? Do you think they're too scared? Well, the actual statute itself says that you're allowed to use, if you're a police officer, as I am a former one from New York, I also lost a friend in the line of duty who was killed. The rationale behind the use of force is that you're allowed to use that amount of threat necessary to terminate a violent act. A physical attack on yourself or someone else. As a police officer, you're allowed to use that amount of force necessary if you reasonably believe that that amount of force is necessary to counter an incoming threat. So we have two examples of police officers, both of which they believe the suspect had a gun. Now, I don't know if they ever saw a gun, but what I can tell you that if they followed the statute, they were in fear of serious physical injury to themselves or to someone else. They were afraid. And everyone runs to want to say, oh, let's have more division. It's more racism. I don't know what was in the mind of these patrolmen. What I do know is they were afraid. So we wait and see what the evidence plays out. But the fact of the matter is, they holler, he's got a gun, is never an excuse to shoot and kill someone. Never. It's not the way I was trained as a cop. You don't do it. There has to be that threat of death to yourself or serious physical injury to someone around you. So in those cases, we wait and see how the evidence plays out. But to jump ahead right away and start saying that everyone's racist, and then you look at the events of last evening. 5, the last report, 5 police officers killed. 5 human beings. 5 more human beings killed. Because of division and hatred. So, this morning's anaerobic aphorism, I'm going to add a couple, if you don't mind. And you're welcome. I got the text, my phone's going off. You're welcome to text me, 331-684-7685, 331-684-SOUL. Hit me up on Facebook. As you know, I'm the only one here, but hit me up on Facebook. I'd love to know what you think. First additional anaerobic aphorism. I want to do 2 of them. I want to throw them in. One poet, one rock band. Then I want to throw in a little story before we get on with the show. One is from the poet John Donne. It says, no man, and he meant woman as well, no human is an island entire of itself. Every one of us is a piece of the continent, a part of the main. If a clod be washed away by the sea, Europe is the less. Any man, any woman's death diminishes me. Because I am involved in mankind. And therefore, never send to know for whom the bell tolls, because it tolls for thee. If you remember Led Zeppelin, Stairway to Heaven, it says that if you listen very hard, the truth will come to you at last. We are all one, and one is all. We're all one, and one is all. Outside of the opinion of division, outside of all the prejudices, outside of all the old and recurring, the deep-rooted disdain for true dialogue, for the fact-finding, of our fears. Outside of the depraved indifference to human life, outside of all of that, Led Zeppelin was right. We are all one and one is all. John Donne was right. Don't ask for whom the bell tolls, it tolls for thee. So in the death of these two young men in the police shootings earlier in the week, the death of the police officers last night, it's all a part of us. So at some point, the rest of us that have an eighth of a brain have to stand up and go, no more opinion of division, no more. So I called it brutality baiters. Always on the lookout for the next group to demonize. You know where it is. Look at the press. Look at politicians. Look wherever you want. The rhetoric of rage. A cognitive... You're familiar with the term gerrymandering? That old politician way back when that redistricted everything to make sure that his votes counted to get him, and it said it looked like a salamander, and so that's how they came up with the term gerrymandering. But you know how political classes go in and they try to redivide the lines for the greatest benefit? Well, there's a cognitive gerrymandering going on today, and that's the rhetoric of rage. We do whatever we can to provoke hate, all in the name of news. Ratings based on how effectively we can rile everyone up. Look at how hard we work to identify and then vilify the other. Social media. I had someone post this morning, every time a cop is killed, an angel gets his wings. And then people want to go off on me when they say, oh, it's not fair to say that there's subpar human beings. Well, there absolutely are subpar human beings. You take a gun and you're not defending your life or another, and you take the life of another human being, you are a subpar human being. I don't give a crap what you call yourself. I don't care about your politics. I don't care about your religion. I don't care about your social status in any way. You take a life of another human being outside of the defense of yourself or someone near and close to you. You are an inferior human being. So I said I was going to start the show with a story. And then we're going to fall back on the only thing I know, which is the truth. People say, oh, how do you know that this is the truth? And again, you want to take this in a spiritual vein? Fantastic. You want to take it in a scientific vein? Fantastic. You look at the smartest science on the face of the planet. What we know to date, everything is energy. You and I are connected at every single freaking level, and you can't divide it. You can't. Forget the politicians. Forget those outlets. Forget social media. Forget all the things we use to divide ourselves. You're an idiot if you think you're dividing that energy. So wrap yourself in your religious books, wrap yourself in your scientific debate, wrap yourself in whatever you're comfortable with. It doesn't matter because it's not the truth. Underlying all of it is our all-natural being. John Donne was right. Zeppelin was right. We are all one and one is all. You don't like it as a philosophy? Tough crap. Then take it as a science. We are all connected. So I'm going to fall back on the only thing I know. And for the rest of the show, for those of you that want to stick around, we're going to talk about that underlying reality. We're going to demystify the science. So at the end, what will I have been able to contribute to the debate? Not the finger pointing, but the focusing on facts. We're going to demystify the quantum science. We're going to look at some of the tests and studies that are done that no one wants you to know about. Because if you know about it, then you can't have an opinion of division. You can't be a brutality baiter. You can't be on the lookout for the other and then do what you can to vilify them. So that's what we're going to do for the rest of the show. My attempt to add to the dialogue of everything going on is that we are all connected. And that there are good and bad in all walks of life. I know and have had the pleasure and the honor of working with really great cops. And I also know that there are some cops that I look at it and go, how were they ever given a gun and a badge? But to say that all cops are bad, not true. You hear people that say, oh, doctors. Oh, he's a doctor, she's a doctor. Oh, they got crappy bedside manner. Every profession has the good, the bad, and then the in-between. Are there cops that don't deserve a gun and a badge? Absolutely. Absolutely. Why don't they deserve the gun and badge? Because they don't recognize the underlying reality of all natural being. But in a society when we want a war on this and a war on that, and we have law enforcement, everything's a battle. Everyone wants to find an enemy. And you can stand up at some award show and go how you've been maligned forever because of the pigment of your skin. Sick of hearing it. Don't care. You're either a brutality baiter where you can look at another human being and find them contrary to you, contrary to the reality of that underlying energy. I'm done. Done. Don't give a crap about your opinion. If you're going to continue to divide an energy that in and of itself is indivisible, then you're an idiot. So I'm done. All natural being is about that underlying connection. I'll tell you a little story. Dear friend of mine came over a couple weeks back for lunch. We've been friends forever. Brought her beautiful young daughter, 2-year-old daughter with her. And I have younger sons. I have older sons too, but I have younger sons. About the same age. Within a year of each other, if not... a 3-year-old and a couple 2-year-olds. And when you first meet, just as you and I would do, you first meet me being, oh, hi, how are you? You're a little reserved, right? 5 minutes. Thick as thieves, these three. Playing, laughing, joking, sharing toys, carrying on, having lunch. Didn't recognize the difference in skin pigmentation. Didn't recognize it. Didn't see it. Played, had a freaking riot. And it was time, right? Because when you're that age, 1 o'clock, it's nap time. Which is odd, really, because when you're that little or you're my age, 1 o'clock is nap time for all of us, right? When it came time to leave for naps, what did they do? Group hug. Well, first, it was individual hugs, and then group hugs. They didn't recognize the difference. They didn't recognize the difference. They didn't see anything. They didn't see any division. They recognized, they felt viscerally in their spines, felt their all-natural being. And they hugged. And as my oldest son hugged her, then my younger son was like, oh, it's my turn now. They went down for their naps later that day. My 3-year-old says, oh, when can she come back? When can we go? When can we go play with her? I'm not going to mention her name because I'm not going to out my friend in case she doesn't want me to. But there, right in front of me, was all natural being. No division, no hatred. So you want some more likes on Facebook, do you? You want some more Twitter followers, do you? You want to be an RSS feed. You want your post shared. So you think it's a good idea to continue to push the division? I think that's a good idea, do you? Doesn't matter that it's contrary to the truth, right? You're just trying to get some numbers. You're just trying to get some eyeballs. You're just trying to get laid, right? What does it matter to you? Well, it does matter. Because as we continue to push the division, you and I are part of the problem. With everything going on in the world, everything, we're heading into a future where we're going to need each other. We're most certainly heading into the future where the people that recognize their all-natural being are the ones that are going to thrive. The people that don't see that division. So you can be a superstar rock rapper. You can be a superstar country music dark hero for all I care. You can be a politician. You can be in some of these, not all, right? Because just like in the news, just like in law enforcement, just like in the medical profession, some people have great bedside manner. Some people really should have been a doctor, and some people shouldn't have been. Just like some cops shouldn't be some cops. And some television reporters shouldn't be television reporters. Because if all you're going to report on is the division, all you're going to do is incite people to riot. I can't go in a movie theater and scream fire if there isn't one. But you can go on the airwaves every day. You can get in your little blog, your little Twitter feed, and continue to propagate the division, continue to propagate the hatred. Your days are numbered. There'll come a time where enough people are going to say, I don't see the division. Sorry. They're going to be like my friend's daughter. They already are like my friend's daughter and my sons. They don't see it. They haven't learned it yet. Maybe that's why Yoda in Star Wars, you must unlearn that which you have learned. Cool thing is, all they recognized was the all-natural being. All they recognized was that underlying connection. All they recognized, if they were old enough, would have been the Led Zeppelin song. All they recognized, if they were old enough, would have been the John Donne poem. All they recognized, if they were old enough, were countless, thousands of scientific experiments to prove that all there is an energy. And that your collapse of the wave function, your unique vibration, Einstein, right? E equals mc squared. Your unique vibration that turns you from pure energy into matter doesn't take away from the fact that you still come from the ubiquitous, the ever-present, the underlying energy. Heaven, Higgs field, don't give a crap about your definition. I really don't. Because beneath all of that is your all-natural being. We're on this planet together. We come from the dirt. Everyone's so self-important. Everyone's so fired up. I saw someone says, you just go to, I'm not even going to mention the website, go to any website, and you see all the hate, all the division. How does it serve us? Well, now we're killing each other. We're left and right. We're killing each other in the streets. So all the people are going to say, well, it's disproportionately different to this and that based on the pigment of your skin. Brutality is brutality. Doesn't matter. The pigment of your skin. You don't have any control over the pigment of your skin. Get a grip of yourself. You were born as you were. I defended last week and then got slammed for it. I defended Justin Timberlake because he dared say, look, we're all together. We're all one. We're all one huge extended family. Well, that wasn't good enough for all the brutality baiters. Wasn't good enough. 331-684-7685. 331-684-SOUL. We're talking today about what you and I can do. If you haven't tuned in yet, you see the news, you look at all the violence going on, all the different things happening overnight in Dallas, the last couple of days with some other police-involved shootings. Everybody's scared. Everybody's afraid. So we have to decide, right? We need an ego shield. We need to buffer ourselves from the triggers, those things that just afford us the instant energy to get all fired up. We have to abandon the rhetoric of rage, because what we do to someone else, we do to ourselves. Viktor Frankl, if you remember any of his writing, said there's a space between stimulus and response. You and I have talked before about ego shield, that temporal terrain, so that when there's an outside trigger, we have the ability, best acronym, right? Breathe in, exhale, scan the horizon, then think, then talk, then take action. Frankl was right. So what can we do to build the distance between that space? What can we do to calm the rhetoric of rage? What can we do to calm ratings that are based simply on riling everyone up? What can we do to build the space between identifying the other and then seeking to vilify them? because it's an uphill battle. But it's one we're going to have to engage in if we want any kind of future. Any kind of future at all. We talk all the time about, how if you really are going to be separated from who you truly are, it's never good for you. What did Jesus say? Bring forth what is within you. What is within you will save you. You don't bring forth what is in you. What you don't bring forth will destroy you. Well, it's good for the individual. It's good for the community. It's good for the country. It's good for the continent. It's good for the globe. So what do we got to bring forth? That underlying connection. What can we do? We can look to these brutality baiters, these ones that always want us divided over politics, over religion, which just freaking fascinates me. The word religion, meaning to bind together. We already are bound together. That ubiquitous energy, that energy that's everywhere. And again, you don't want to be philosophical, you don't want to be religious, you don't want to be spiritual, don't care. Just look at the science of it. You don't want to be scientific? You don't want to you say, look at the Higgs field. Gives these particles mass. It's a ubiquitous field everywhere in the universe. Great. You don't want to look at the Higgs field? Look at it as the Holy Spirit. But we're already bound together. So what can we do? We can stand up to the brutality baiters. We can stand up to the people that want to demonize everyone else. Everyone wants a gang. Everyone wants a posse. Everyone wants an entourage. Everyone wants a Twitter following. Everyone wants 10 million fans on Facebook. Did you ever stop and wonder why? You go, you got to have all those followers. You got to have all this or that. I've often thought, and that's the beauty of social media, I've often thought that's because subconsciously we recognize we're all connected. That's what social media is. We're all connected. Reach out, talk to anyone all over the planet. Got friends all over the world. So do you. All over the world. So social media in and of itself is to show us, hey, why do I dig it? Well, because I am connected. They said, the human race needs connection. Just zip it. Human race doesn't need what it already has. It is connected. What everyone's running around for is trying to manifest that sense of connection consciously. Human beings are a social animal. Oh, really? You think so, jackass? Do you really? You think they're a social animal? You know why? Because they're all connected, you dimwit. So enough. Take your awards, take your albums, take your the philosophies, and go sit in the corner. Because we're done with you. We're done. So what can you and I do? We can work to build that space between stimulus and response. We don't have to buy into the craziness. We don't have to buy into the hate. I watch my sons and my friend's daughter. They didn't know they weren't supposed to get along. I'll be right back.
You're listening to All Natural Being with Brian Brawdy. How much longer will you let them hijack your head and your heart?
Hey, you know what? Maybe this segue has never been more profound than this morning. We don't have to let them hijack our heart and our heads. We know we're connected, and I'm going to set out my case. I'm going to set out my proof. It's all I know how to do. Or I could just go out in the front yard and scream. Excuse me. So I'm going to set out my case here for the second half of the hour of how we're all connected. People go, that's some really tough science to get through. No, it isn't. It's difficult to believe what you and I are going to discuss, but it's not hard to understand. Look down at your hand, your foot, your navel. Look at your right shoulder, then look at your left shoulder. Is it connected to you? If you're blessed enough to have a fully intact human body, are those parts connected to you? That's all you need to know. It's all connected. It's all energy. It's all energy. Like that football game we used to play when we were little kids. I should probably remind people, yes, please do continue. Text me 331-684-7685, 331-684-SOUL. Yes, the number is 331-684-7685 for those that are off by a digit, 331-684-7685. So how much longer are we going to let them hijack our heart and our heads? How much longer in the political debate, the gun debate, the race debate, all these other things, all these other reasons that we have to look at the other and go, oh, they're just the other. How much longer are we going to let people do that? How much longer? So let's do that. Let's look at some of the science. The science responsible for the fact that you're listening to me now. The science responsible for cell phones, you just a laundry list of things that if it weren't for Einstein and his E equals MC squared, and it weren't, Niels Bohr, just the whole laundry list of brilliant minds that came up with, that uncovered the idea of quantum physics, and then a handful of people that try to go, that's even too crazy for me. Let me try to get rid of it. But the countless things that have been born out of what we're going to discuss right now. At the subatomic level, we are all connected. Nothing we can do about it. There was an agitation. I think I started to say about the football game when we were younger. Remember the football game, and you would turn on the vibration, and it would vibrate the players around the board? That's basically the underlying energy of the universe. We've talked before about the human elements. Top 10 elements in your body come from an exploding sun. And so people want to go, well, I was born on this continent, or I checked with Ancestry.com, and now I'm wearing lederhosen or not a kilt. Well, because my family tree is rooted in Guam. No. Your family tree is rooted in the dirt. You come from the dirt. And the good news is we're all lowlifes. There's dirt in our DNA. We come from this planet. Any other division that we want to conjure up after the fact, tough crap. Bottom line is we all come from the same place. And scientist after scientist lines up to say, Einstein hated the idea. Even afterwards, he was like, oh, this is crazy. A spooky action at a distance where we're all connected, where we're all entangled. Because that's all physics is. Let people tell you whatever they want. Oh, well, you need a pocket a protractor and a slide rule, and you need to be able to draw these little figures that are supposedly math symbols. Let them tell you all you want. Simply put, physics is nothing more than the study of energy and matter. Matter and energy, energy and matter. One and the other, both the same. That's the E equals MC squared. There you go. And when you look at the study of that matter, of nature, what do you come up with? Electrically charged particles. That's what you get yourself. Protons, neutrons, atoms, neutrinos, all these subatomic particles, constantly in motion. And they're held together by electromagnetic energy. So while objects, trees, people, all these other things, we appear to be separate, we're not. Everything is a part of that vibrant energy field. Again, not spirituality. This isn't hooey. This isn't more of hocus pocus, more self-help. Remember Dancing Woolly Masters, Gary Zukav? Excuse me. All things in our universe, including us, that appear to exist independently, are actually parts of an all-encompassing organic matter, and that no parts of that pattern are ever really separate from it or from each other, end quote. Makes me think, Jesus, I and the Father are one. If you've been listening to me for any point in time, I don't think he was an egomaniac. He was teaching us a mantra. Not what to believe, but what to say when you look in the mirror. I and the Father are one. No one comes to the Father but through me. That sense of connection is in your heart. You pick any religious book you want. Look at the Bhagavad Gita. Bhagavad Gita from the Hindu faith, same way. That life soul, that underlying connection of all things. So you look at all the different things. You look at all the different ways that we use to identify the other. It's all a lie. It's all a fabrication. It's all brutality baiting. Because if it's not a part of you, what do you care? Oh, don't worry. You can be cruel to animals. You can be cruel to people. You can be cruel here and there. Doesn't matter. They're not connected to you. Well, you know what? You're wrong. They are. And you're an idiot. Now, not the idiot. Well, I don't want to go down that road. Let me just tell you. It's not what you think it is. So again, what can you and I do? We can start standing up to people when they go, oh, there's a division. Something else we can do. We can enter into a dialogue with a little bit of thicker skin. Everyone's so thin-skinned. Can't say anything. If you stand up for the police, you're racist. If you stand up against the police, then they got another title for you. You can't be fans of both. So we can do away with thin skin. We can do away with letting people treat us like pincushions. We don't have to let those negative feelings in. We don't have to let that division in. And I love this idea, this concept. You can't get in the kingdom of heaven unless you're like a little child. I witnessed it firsthand the other day when my friend was over and her family was over. This whole us versus them mentality. It just turns us back on the true, wondrous mystery of life. Life here in the labyrinth. You ever hear of when they were talking about whenever two atoms combine to form molecules, they exchange electrons, right? They're entangled. So these entangled electrons, and again, this is science, not philosophy, these entangled electrons, you send one out for lunch, like send it 1 billion light years away, and then you keep this one electron home, you keep it right here close by. Do you know that when you affect the spin, so let's just imagine, just to make this mental picture, one electron, the one you're holding in your hand, you cause it to spin counterclockwise, let's say. Do you know, instantaneously, faster than the speed of light, instantaneously, at the exact same time, no chance whatsoever for information to travel 1 billion light years away. Do you know they've proven, beyond a shadow of a doubt, that when you affect the electron you're holding in your hand, it instantaneously affects the electron 1 billion light years away? Why? Because it's entangled. It's connected, just like you and me. But we want division. We want to clutch. Oh, we want our heritage. Oh, this is the continent my great-great-great-great-great-great-great-great-grandparents came from. Like you had any say in the matter. You come from the dirt, just like me. There's dirt in our DNA. So let's look at energy for a minute. If it's true that there's this underlying energy, which I believe, which scientists believe, which they prove every day, there's an underlying energy that we're all connected. That's why I say all the time, people say, oh, love makes the world go round. I don't believe that. I don't believe it's love. I believe it's truth that makes the world go round. And I think the truth that we're all connected is what makes the world go round. Well, it better, because that's, the truth. You know of the Copenhagen interpretation. Niels Bohr, Heisenberg, probably a handful of other brilliant guys at the time. They believed that all the electrons in the universe exist in this state, this pre-collapsed state of what's called the wave function. And there's no way to really tell what's going on until you look at it. You have sensors and you see what's going on. And the science is that beneath that, we're all in one big gazpacho. We're all in one big soup. And it isn't until we look to judge. Did we talk yesterday about momentum and location? Until we look to judge where a particular place is, until there's the collapse of that wave function, we're all in one big field. We're all connected. So is it any wonder that it gets so crazy in the world? Because we're going against, right? We have to have all natural foods, can't have food colorings, can't have dyes, can't have pre-processed foods, can't have genetically modified foods. But we can have genetically modified philosophies. We can just take it for granted. Oh, no, there's a division. I come from this continent, you come from that continent, I come from this side of the tracks, you come from that side of the tracks. Energy is energy. At the subatomic level, through quantum physics, everything is pure energy. Just like you and me. Everything around us, all pure energy. That's what it means to be here in the labyrinth. So maybe for our 20-minute victory today, maybe what we can do is just say for 20 minutes, I'm not going to see the division. Kind of like, I think it was yesterday, the day before, me running around with my glasses on my shirt. I wasn't paying attention, so I didn't find them. Well, let's not pay attention to the division. Because in addition to all the quantum physics, neuroscientists are telling now, you pretty much see what you focus on. You pretty much get what you look for. And that's the double split experiment. Anybody ever see What the Bleep Do We Know, the movie? That's it. Send electrons through the double split screen. Some act like particles, some act like waves. And then they go, oh, wait a minute, let's mess with the electrons. Let's not let them know we're going to be looking. Well, the moment you look, you get them to act in a different way. So let's not give these people, let's not like their tweets. Let's not fave their Facebook posts. Let's not read it, their read-its, whatever it's called. Let's go, no, just for 20 minutes. And I promise you, see how much better you're going to feel. For 20 minutes, let's just stick with the truth. Let's just stick with reality. That there is no other. I and the other are one. You and I are ripples. You and I are like those little football players on the electric field. We're all connected. It's no wonder the craziness of the world exists, because we're acting like we're not. So we're acting contrary to the truth. We're living a lie if we don't recognize that underlying energy. So that's what we can do. We can stop living the lie. We can stop buying into the hate. We can stop getting riled up by all the rhetoric. I'll be right back.
No self-help industry tactics here. You're listening to The Real Deal. Brian Brawdy with All Natural Being on IPM Nation.
Well, here's the thing. You can't look at All Natural Being without looking at the labyrinth. Without looking at how you and I are connected to our surroundings. Because we're all entangled. Quantum physics is right. Now, at the macro level, you have the science say, oh, well, Brian, stop telling people that at the macro level it works. It works at the micro level. It works under this microscope. Yeah, all right. Whatever. Brainiac. See ya. That's not to take away from Bell or Martin Rees, Richard Feynman, Heisenberg, Bohr, Einstein, not to take away from any of those. But if our core were built as a part of this soup, can't escape the soup. Can't do it. So you want to talk about the skeleton in the closet? You want to talk about the elephant in the room? Folks don't want us knowing we're all connected. How could they divide us based on political affiliation? How could they divide us based on social status? How could they divide us into cliques, into gangs, into groups, into posses, into entourages? How could they gerrymander our own minds if they didn't come up with division? Well, they couldn't. Which is why none of this stuff is all that popular. That's popular with some people if you dig reading science books, if you're out in the search for truth. What are you going to do? If you bring forth what is within you will save you. If you do not bring forth what is within you, what you do not bring forth will destroy you. Well, how? You just look at the news. We're destroying ourselves because we live contrary to the truth. We're not supposed to want to kill each other. We're not supposed to want to be brutal. We're not supposed to we're supposed to be afraid all the time. So now we've got police officers slaughtered in Dallas. Snipers. Oh, but Bri, you can't don't comment. Don't say that they're inferior human beings. Well, there absolutely are. You take the life of another human being outside of your immediate need to defend yourself or another, you're a subpar human being. You don't like it? Tune out. Tune off. Unfollow me. I'm good with it. But for those of you that stay, if you feel like me this morning, you don't know what to say, you don't know what to do, you just want to scream, you want to go, really? We're going to just keep killing each other? You point a gun at another human being and kill them without that threat. It's just not right at any level. We're raising an entire generation of kids, entire generation of people. Maybe it's that generation's already here. But just look at the tone of discussions on TV. Look at the tone of discussions on blog posts. Everyone wants to radicalize us into one little camp. And by the way, thank you for all the texts that I'm getting about today's show. I appreciate it. I'm still learning how to try. I'm still learning how to try how to produce the show and look at 2 or 3 different screens at once. Don't forget 331-684-7685. I've often believed, even in my days in law enforcement, that if you can take the life of another human being, there's just something wrong with you. I'm not teaching my kids to take another life unless it's in defense of their own. You know, and you'll hear in the news, well, this guy was armed with a gun. No, you're not armed with a gun. Let me ask you a question. If you're sitting in your car, but you don't have the car keys, you don't have the keys in the ignition, just sitting in your car, it's a parked car, no keys, no ability to start it. You haven't armed the car. You haven't put the keys in the ignition. Right? Not going to be able to drive the car. It's technically a box. Technically a huge paperweight with 4 wheels. Right? Because you don't have the keys. You can't arm it. So, well, he was armed with a weapon. No, was he pointing at you? No. Where was it? Oh, it was in his pocket. Well, then he's not armed. Oh, well, it was in a holster on her hip. Then she wasn't armed. A weapon's not armed unless it's loaded and pointed at you. So just because somebody screams, hey, he's got a gun, he's not armed.
Well, we later found the gun in his pocket. Or we later found out he had a shoulder holster.
Well, then what the hell were you afraid of? I wasn't pointing the gun at you. But oh no. TV stars, celebrities, what is this? The latest nut to call for increased laws against guns. I don't know if you heard about this before too long ago. Guy takes his car, drives into a group of bicyclists. I think 5 or 6 or 7 bicyclists were killed. So is it the driver's fault or the car's fault? Should we demonize cars? No. Should we demonize cars? Answer the question. You tune in for a frank discussion. Should we demonize cars? It was armed as a weapon. The intent of the operator was to take a human life. Should we demonize the car? You're not armed unless the weapon is loaded and pointed. And you could say, oh, Brownie was armed with a knife. Great. Was that knife pointed at you? Was he 10 feet away? And let me just say this, because if not, it's going to eat at me all day long. There are some people that do not deserve to be in that position. If your idea were just, for me, maybe it's different for other people, but for me, we were trained, you pulled your gun because you were ready to pull the trigger. You didn't use it as a threat. You didn't use it to get some type of compliance. You pulled your gun for one thing. It's go time. He's going to go or I'm going to go. One or the other. But look at this today in age.
Oh, well, there's a terrorist at the airport, so we're going to have a huge show of force. All these people running around with guns.
You can't demonize the gun. But people are going to try to. You'll see. Forget the fact that we weren't born with claws and teeth and nails and, the ability to defend ourselves that way. For those of us that believe in the right to protect ourselves, that believe in the absolute responsibility we have in moments of crisis to be able to protect those around us. You don't get to shoot us just because he's got a gun. There are some people that just shouldn't have been given a gun and a badge. You shoot someone 15 feet away because he's got a knife 17 times, you're out. But we shouldn't be on rooftops either with sniper rifles, killing police officers that are there trying to protect the people that are protesting. We shouldn't be killing ourselves, and that's what we're doing. And what does it get us? It gets a future where there's just going to be more killing. When does it end? That's what you and I can do today. Our 20-minute victory, our buffer, our trigger, I'm sorry that it's such a crappy pun, but I literally mean it. The things that trigger us to violent action. When we build a wall, when we build a moat, when we build our ego shield, then we can start having discussions. We have thick skin. We have a natural spine. Not these panty weights running around. You can't say anything. Political correctness. Oh, he said something that really offended me. Tough crap. If you can be offended by the words of another, why would I pile on? You already have a crappy life. Good luck to you. But for the rest of us, we're not going to pile on anymore. We're not going to buy into it. And I will forever continue to remember the vision of the other day of my friend's daughter and my sons. We're born racist. We weren't born divisionists. We weren't born to always identify the other. We were conditioned. We were conditioned to turn away from the truth of quantum physics. You got a cell phone, you believe in quantum physics. Internet, fan of NASA, are you? Quantum physics. So I say, if you're going to use the tools, believe in the truth. Truth is energy. We're all connected. So what are we going to do? Led Zeppelin was right. John Donne was right. So you and I have to work to further the idea of Viktor Frankl. He should know. Further, the idea that there is a space between stimulus, between the trigger. There is a space between trigger and a response. Can't be shooting people just because someone hollers, I got a gun. He's got a gun. Guns aren't evil. The people that use them on rooftops are evil. The people too timid to have a gun and shoot someone just because there's the threat that they have a gun, they got to go. Off the force. Out. No questions asked. Goodbye. For you and I, that's what we do today. That's what we do to the weekend. We make sure that we're not teaching our kids this division because we're going to kill each other over it. We talk all the time about how crazy fate is, how crazy the ego is. But for those people that believe in all natural being, here's our opportunity to stand up and go, no more. We are all connected. We are made of the very elements of an exploding sun, perhaps billions of light years away. We're all connected. Science proves it. If you have a spiritual bent, you must feel it. If you have a religious take, you're binding together with the divine, however you define it. But we can take action by ignoring all the people trying to remind us how different we are, because it is a lie. I don't care about the pigment of your skin. I don't. I care about the marrow of your mind. And that's all you should care about, my friend. So as today wears on, hopefully there'll be no more killings. But you and I can do something to be empowered right now. We stand up to those outlets, whatever they are. Social media, blog posts, any of these things that suggest we continue to hate each other. Oh, we need revenge. Let's ignore those voices. Let's ignore the division. Let's remember who we are at our core. Let's restore the pure in us, the pristine. You'll be happier. You'll be healthier. You'll be smarter. You'll be living the truth. Let's listen to other people. Let's not have such thin skin. Developed an entire generation of people. Glass jaws, can't take a punch. Let's listen to other people. See if we can't hear that commonality. Remember, and I hate to go all Led Zeppelin on you again, but if you listen very hard, so let's listen to each other. Let's see if we can find some common ground. Because if we do, the truth will come at last. We are all one, and one is all. So today, anaerobic aphorism. None of us are an island entire of ourselves, according to John Donne. We're all a piece of the continent, a part of the main. If a clod be washed away by the sea, all of us is the lesser. Any death diminishes me. Because I am involved in humankind, and therefore never send to know for whom the bell tolls. It tolls for thee. Let's try to be nice to each other for the weekend. I can't imagine the families that have lost people this week, what it must be like for them. Let's remember who we are. Let's channel the marrow of our minds and let them know we're done with all their divisionist crap. We're done buying into this depraved indifference for human life. We'll go to the brutality baiters and go, yeah, you know what? You're nuts. Thanks. See you later. You have nothing that I'm interested in. And then get out there and have a fantastic weekend. Let's hang together on Monday. Talk to you soon.
been listening to All Natural Being with Brian Brawdy.
Join us live every Monday through Friday, 7 to 8 a.m. Eastern.
Also, check us out around the clock at allnaturalbeing.com.
Until then, always remember to bring your own bold.
Hey, and don't forget, even though I'm going off the air here, you can still hit me up on Facebook. Let me know what you're thinking. Brian Brawdy Official is the address over there on Facebook. And continue to text me, 331-684-7685. Let me know what you're thinking. I'll be working most of the weekend, so give me an idea. Let me know how you're going to beat back the brutality baiters. I'm anxious. I'm excited to hear how you're doing it. Talk to you soon.
IPMNation.com.